They sent me to Sweden to go look at a car, and I end up taking a look at where the town is, and I realize that the car is in the Arctic Circle.
Wow. This is the driver. It should be right behind me. Wow. There she is.
All right.
Welcome to Arctic.
Hey, Ronnie. Hello, Chip. Hey, good to meet you.
Ah, nice to meet you.
No, I see.
Yeah, it's a, but it's an original tire. This one I haven't not cleaning nothing.
So I think this is episode 14 or something like that for us. I would say that the last two episodes tell the story, they tell the story of faith, perseverance, the American dream. My personal story, my family's story is the story of the underdog. And much like this car and Lamborghini for so many years, and that's what makes this brand so interesting to me, is it is the story of the underdog. Lamborghini struggled from their inception in 1963 through the early 70s. This car comes from a very special period of Lamborghini history, but also a time where they really struggled to sell cars and develop cars. I really think that it doesn't matter how talented you are, how smart you are. I'm not the most talented guy. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. It's about who you surround yourself with and your faith at the end of the day. So that's what, to me, this car embodies, is the story of success. We're standing with, in my eyes, what is probably the most important modern Lamborghini in many ways that was ever produced. The first Diablo SE30 prototype, P0. It's the famous brochure car. It's the car that was used for all the development. It is believed to be the fastest Lamborghini Diablo that ever left the factory. And it is also believed that this was actually another prototype that was originally built by Horacio Pagani for Lamborghini, which we'll talk about, L30. I'm actually seeing this up close for the first time on purpose. I asked my guys not to clean it. I asked them not to basically touch anything on this car. So this is the way it's probably been sitting for about 18 years now in the Arctic Circle. We're gonna bring Chip, our inspector, here to see it again. Chip flew to Sweden and then drove 15 hours into the Arctic Circle to inspect this car. And when he was inspecting it, he learned so many crazy details. This is not just one prototype. This car actually represents two prototypes for Lamborghini. There's so many unique features on this car, and the more I look at it, I see a lot of differences. This window is actually a different design. On a normal SE30, it's curved. This is way more crude, and that's how you can tell this car apart when you see the original brochure. You can tell it by that feature, and you can tell it by one other thing. I gotta show you guys this. And this is how we originally found the car. A former Lamborghini employee mentioned to me 5-6 years ago that the prototype was still in existence, is this fuel cap. You can actually see it's a bigger hole, so it was a different body panel than the other cars, and carbon body panel, and you can see it's gold. So none of the other cars had this. You can actually see the original prototype badge. Now this car was originally destined to be kept by Lamborghini. It was actually in their original press release that they were going to keep this actual car. It was going to be part of the factory museum collection. And then it appears that after so many auto shows, so many press junkets, this actually was the pace car and demonstrator vehicle at all the Diablo SVR races. In 1997, it was given to Stefan Rattel. I'm going to have to call him at some point. He's still around. Stefan Rattel organization, SRO, famously ran the F40 LM cars. They famously ran the McLaren F1 cars and FI BPR series. So really, really important person of automotive racing history, but also Lamborghini history. The other thing, when you get into this car, you immediately notice this is different. The whole center console is completely different. And even the adjustable sway bar is different in this car. In the production cars, this was all Alcantara here. This console is all completely different. Someone had refinished the carbon fiber at one point to a gloss carbon fiber. We're gonna have to go back to matte. We're gonna start taking this all apart. I believe this is all original. This is another way to tell. And just so interesting when you start to see all these features of this car. All of these carbon boxes here are different. This is a full carbon seat bracket and full carbon seat, which is different from production. So this compartment is completely different. This was never in production cars. And then here's its original books. And one of the cool facts of this car, you can actually see Stefan Rattel, and this car was delivered by Automobili Lamborghini, not a dealer. This actual car. You can see the window is more sharp there, but just so cool. A piece of Lamborghini history that we are going to do our best job to preserve and unveil again. What's up? How are you, man? What's going on? How's everything?
Good, man.
You want to go around? I'll show you everything that we want to. Okay. So what I would love to do to start, so all of, and I'll actually open the hood as well. So we want to leave this.
Okay, I see that.
So we actually have a new one of these. This is from an early car. We're going to take off all the carbon panels. We're going to send these out. These are going to go back to matte. I have all the original photos, so like this is correct in the black. So what's interesting is the throttle bodies were black on this car. Those bolts would have been zinc gold. That's actually good to know. The coolant cap was more gold zinc too. I want to try to preserve but perfect, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. If we have to pull anything off and do zinc coating or anything like that, there are markings here, which are super important for the car. So you'll see there's red paint here. This car started life as a red prototype,
okay,
which we'll talk about a little bit more. So the red paint, we want to try to keep that, but any bolts, the things like the grille, the tail lights, you know, like this tail light lens is cracked, we should get a new one. That's cracked, we should get a new one. We're obviously going to change the tires. The wheels are missing their graphic that would have been installed, and I have originals, so we'll probably pop off the wheels, do the tires. So I want to take off the tint, polish that. All of these bolts here, like I want to remove all that. If we have to do a cryo underneath detail, we can do that. So like things like, okay, the door handle here, I want to remove that. Let's document this and take photos as we remove it. Mm-hmm. This is the only car that has this handle. So even these bolts. So on the factory production cars, they were actually plastic. So it's probably the only car with the metal bolts. This door handle, this is the only car. Sergio, you actually have to get this. This is cool. I don't even know what this is from. This is the only Diablo I've ever seen with that door handle. So there's all these crazy nuances that I want to restore, but I want to document the process as we restore them because it's literally the only piece that was made. Then the whole center console, that'll all come out. The seat will come out. You know, I would honestly, I would just, like today, I'd start popping everything out, document it, take photos, so we can get the carbon sent out, and then we can start with the bolts and things like that. In the production cars, they were all black. It looks like they painted them blue to match the interior. This would have had a cover. That's probably what they would have put in it. Wow, this is actually different too. This is not as, wow, the wing is actually definitely different. Wow. This would have been the first adjustable wing on a Diablo. I have a new lip. Yeah, we'll put a new lip on this.
Today I'm going to be taking the hardware that is either oxidized or needs a refinishing. Pretty much taking the seats out and checking out the carpet, and then taking out the carbon pieces like the center console and the AC control panels. Kept it original. This had no connection when it was on there. They had no connectors on there.
Really? So that's not factory. That was not. I don't know what went here. We have to look. But that's not what was there originally.
All right, so today I'm going to be doing the wheels off, detailing, and then I'm going to be doing the wheel liners. I'm going to clean all the suspension components, the calipers, the rotors, all the plastics. This is like 18 years of no one ever touching this. The hardware in the car, some we might reuse, and some we might get new ones that match exact spec as those, like the thread pattern and the shape of the head. If it's a flat head or a rounded head, we have to match it. So this is gonna neutralize the rust. I want to see how far it goes. Tomorrow, I'm going to be prepping the engine bay for a detail, and then the exterior of the car to start the paint correction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse the car's paint off and take most of the dirt and sand and particles off, and then foam wash it, let some of that come off as well, and then start washing it before I start to polish it.
Well, I'll tell you what, first off, it's kind of a shocker to see with air in the tires. I do a lot of inspections on this kind of stuff all over the place. And John and the folks here at Curated are good, great clients. And they sent me to Sweden to go look at a car, and John, kind enough, I asked him what city, and I expected it to be Stockholm or something like that. And he sends me a town, and I end up taking a look at where the town is, and I realize that the car is in the Arctic Circle. It was an interesting journey, to say the least. There was an American, an Iranian, and a Greek and jump into a Volvo in Stockholm. It was an interesting thing. The guys were great guys. Anyways, we had a fun journey, to say the least, and it was a 15-hour drive from Stockholm. We crossed. I made it to the Arctic Circle about 10:30 that night. It was just as bright as midday in Miami. The car was essentially sitting in the driveway of a small house in a town called Galavar, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Galavar, Sweden. And in that, and at that house, there was a pickup truck that was like a 20-year-old Nissan, a a Mercedes, and these things have flat tires. And then sure as all heck, this thing's in the driveway, and it's got flat tires, okay? And it's right there in the driveway, small little one-car garage. The owner of the car was the nicest, down-to-earth guy you'd ever want to meet. So I'm looking at the car, and there were little tells on the car, and it started out on our drive. I was talking, they said, hey, what is one of the things you're most interested in looking at the car when you get to the car? And I says, I want to see if I can find a body number. And when I walked up, particularly on this door hinge, you can't see anything here. As a matter of fact, there's just nothing.
Yes.
Okay, and it's painted over. So I'm sitting there going, wow, okay, we probably got nothing here.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of going around. I go around to the other side, and I said, there's got to be something here. And so with the help of the guys from inside.
Oh, I think we have that photo.
We have a photo, but we don't find it on that one.
Okay.
We find it on this one. To be honest with you, I was almost thinking the story might get a little scary. I didn't really know the twists and turns. Something that I hadn't seen on the other cars in the past was on the rear deck, the engine cover.
Correct.
And on the engine cover, there's a small plate that is kind of riveted to the side of the engine cover over on the other side.
Okay.
And it's just a small little tag, and it has the matching body number to this. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, this isn't, there's something, so now I kind of have 2 points of reference on both ends of the car. And then this body number that I found on 2 ends of the car, and then I go, and at this point, now I start going after engine numbers, and I go after gearbox numbers and differential numbers, and all of the numbers collectively are all, they don't have to be spot on because they're not spot on, but they're all right within a range that would match a car produced with this body number. You find a couple little spots on the car that have red paint. And so that was, early on, this was kind of like, oh boy, okay. This is
scary.
This is
scary.
Once again, we're coming to a fork in the road.
Yes.
And so I find a couple spots. So ultimately, I'm sitting there, and we drove a Volvo wagon up there, and now I'm sitting here in the Arctic Circle in this small town, and I'm literally holding up my cell phone like I'm on a mountaintop or something, trying to get service. And I'm going on to the Lamborghini registry, and I'm searching this particular body number by attribute in the registry, populates, and I go to look, and I'm sitting there going, no way. And it says XL30 Prototype, and it's Rosa. So it's red. So now all of a sudden I'm sitting here going, we got the engine, we got the transmission, we have a notation in factory records to a prototype. What the XL30 was, I don't know if it was a big one. Now I know we got something.
Hey brother, hope you're well. So I think I briefly told you that we discovered the SE30 Prototype, the 12995 car that was used for all the brochures and press and the unveiling in September of 1993. When we were researching this car and Chip, our inspector, was looking at it, he noticed that there were body stamps that were different on the car, numerous places, and there was some red paint around the car. When he looked into that, he realized that those body stamps actually match another Prototipo called XL30 in factory records. I don't know what that is. I've never seen a photo of that car. I was wondering if the factory can help us understand, did one prototype become another? Did one prototype get scrapped and parts went on to the second prototype? And I'm just trying to understand the history. Are we talking about two prototypes that became one? It's a very interesting story. I also believe that the factory planned on keeping this car, so would love your help to finish the story of this Diablo.